So we're going to start seated this evening. Going to take my block. Oops. Just allow myself to park my bum. And lower the knees down as low as you can. We just really want to try and release these groins and the outer hip muscles. Let yourself wriggle onto the front sitting bones and find your sort of peaceful place to sit. And consider where you position your chin. Technically, if you're dropping your chin, your head's coming forwards, that affects the spine. So if you can keep it level, that would be better. I appreciate your laptops or whatever you're using to look on might not be in a convenient place for that, but do your best. I'll take this into a little side bend. So I'm going to take the hands out just onto the fingertips on the floor and work my way out to my left, plant the hand down onto the ground. Now, rather than bending the elbow, I'm going to press into the floor and try and lift that top hand up towards the sky. So I get the biggest distance between the top hand and the lower fingers. And at the same time, I'm going to try and press the right knee down to the floor. So that will be on this side. A little side bend, bring it back in, let ourselves move out to the opposite side, keep the chest nicely facing the front of the mat, and stretch up, lengthen, take a couple of breaths. Come back down. So this evening, we're going to be working our way into a half moon, reversed version of it. We'll allow ourselves to walk the hands forwards to hinge over the hips, and bring ourselves down. We're just coming down to a comfortable place. You can take a few breaths here. Yourself to get used to drawing your abdominal muscles in. Try and keep the shoulders relaxed and lengthen away. You may well be on your elbows or higher, not a problem. It's just a comfortable stretch that you can start to feel the outside edges of the hips and the glutes working. So depending on your specifics of range of motion and tightness of muscles, that will affect how low you can go. So rather than pushing, just allow yourself to ease in. Nice easy start to the knee. Use the hands to press down again. We'll untangle the legs and just take a note of which leg is in front, and then cross them over the opposite way. And we'll take that forward fold again and just ease our way in. Now, quite often the second side is not as natural for us to move through. So you might have to decide that you're just going to take it a little higher on this side. Allow yourselves to start to imprint this feeling into the body so it becomes more recognizable to you and creates less stress in the body. So that doesn't happen instantly. It won't be tonight, but over years of practice. Take a last couple of breaths. Use the hands again to press them to come back up. Stretch the legs out. Give them a little shake. Bring the heels back in. Allow ourselves to come up onto all fours. Fingers towards the front of the mat. Take a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Just drawing the chest forwards a little bit. Shoulders back. Tailbone towards the sky. And rolling it out the opposite way. Try to have the shins parallel to each other, so the feet the same distance apart as the knees, and hopefully the knees are apart as wide as your hips. Which means that when we come into neutral and tuck the toes underneath, we can lift the knees away from the ground and move straight into our down dog with the least amount of wriggling around. And try and get the heels close to the ground, but not actually touching. We'll try to get the legs to be straight, but not absolutely. We'll press the hands flat to the floor and push away from the ground a little bit. Get the shoulders wide now. Draw the belly and the tailbone up towards the sky. I'm going to walk the hands gently in towards the toes. We come towards the back of the mat. Allow enough of a bend in the knees to bring the ribs and thighs together. So you might just be on fingertips. Maybe your hands are flat to the floor. Allow the head to hang down. I'm going to slowly wriggle the feet out as wide as the mat. And then turn the toes out a little bit. Sink your bottom down until your body is more or less parallel to the ground. And then we'll fold the body around the spine, let the head hang as we exhale. Take another breath in, drive through the legs to lift ourselves up. Take the arms out wide, inhale them up towards the sky. Hands through the heart. And let ourselves zigzag the toes back in. Or just shake it out as we walk up to the front of the mat. Feet about hip distance apart. We'll bring the hands together and forwards. We'll take this into a little back bend. So allowing ourselves to look towards the hands. And then bringing the hands back in towards the heart as we hinge over the hips. And down to the floor. We'll slowly bring the hands alongside the hips. Palms up and lift the body up. And exhale, fold our way down again. Fingers to the floor. Inhale, just swing those hands back alongside your hips. Draw your chest forwards. And fold it down. We'll take one more of those. Stepping back into our down dog again. And come forwards into a plank. Let the knees down to the floor. Take a little breath from there and allow the hands to come out in front a little wider than the shoulders. Ease the chest down towards the ground. Keeping the belly drawn in a little bit and pressing into the shins. Now walk the fingers back and press ourselves into child's pose. Using the hands out in front. And slowly bring ourselves back up. Hands onto the mat. Tabletop. Allow ourselves to lift up into that down dog. I'm going to scissor the right leg. Just take that to the sky. Trying to keep both arms straight. The hips square to the ground. Hinging the leg will bring that foot to the floor. Take the opposite leg up and again try to minimize the amount of rolling around. So keeping the belly button, the heart, the pubic bone over the center line of the mat. I'll bring the foot back down to the floor and allow ourselves to slowly lift that right leg. Once you've got that as high as you can, we'll come forwards into a plank, keeping the legs raised. Slowly press it back. And that foot to the floor. Allow ourselves to lift the opposite leg. as long and as high as you can, straight as possible. Stretch those toes behind as you come forwards into your plank. Press away, slowly back. Bring the foot to the floor, come forwards into a plank and drop the knees to the ground. Untucking the toes, we'll take that right hand to the sky and open up for thread the needle. Bring the hand through, drop the shoulder in the air, looking for the center line of the mat. We'll take a breath at the bottom as we roll the top shoulder over and then press again into the floor to release. And inhale high. We'll take one more. Folding through. Breath in. Press down. Float the arm high. This time we'll just bring it to the floor. Swap over to the other side. Inhale high. Hold it under. Through. Breath in. Press away. Inhale. Spiral around your spine. Exhale it down. Draw the belly in. As you breathe, roll the top shoulder back and over. Exhale, press into the hand to lift. Back down again for the final time. Nice breath. Press away from the floor. Take the hand high. Bring it to the floor. Tuck the toes underneath. Allow ourselves to lift into our down dog. We'll come forwards, just lifting the hips up as we move forwards into a plank wave. Hands a little more past the shoulders as we do that. Lift back up into that down dog. So the angle through the wrist gets a little more acute. Lift the hips up, move on to the tippy toes, draw the belly in, plank wave through. Continue until your body is aligned, shoulders are broad and wide. Lift up again and through, take it to the sky. Nice wavy spine until your vertebrae ripple around underneath you. Press out through the back heels, chest forwards. Take a little breath, step both legs into the front of the mat. And take a breath here, allow ourselves to lift up. Inhale the hands high, and then bring the hands in towards the heart. So I'm going to shake the hands out and the arms out a little bit and move my bricks or blocks to the front of the mat. Whatever you've got. Take a little breath from there and allow the toes to wiggle together, but just a little gap between the heels. Soften your knees over your toes as you look down and squeeze your thighs together. Imagine you've got one of those bricks in between your thighs. You're going to try and keep it there. And keep the spine nice and long. Allow yourself to sit back. Inhale your hands out in front. So more or less lining in the body. And you want to be careful that your body doesn't sort of sink belly down and the shoulders try and lift up. You want to try and draw your abdomen in a little bit. Get a little flatter in your lower back. So don't worry about whether your hands are sort of more out in front or whether they're very high. That will come by just letting the arms go out a little wider. Trying to soften the shoulders. And take a breath from here. Allow ourselves to bring the hands in towards the heart. And we're going to hinge forwards and just bring the hands down onto the block or the brick raised onto its edge. We'll take the feet hip distance apart again, parallel. Allow myself to take a little breath and slide the right foot back, keeping the foot the same distance apart as it would have been at the front of the mat, till the big toes almost lifting off the ground. And then slowly roll the heel down to the ground. Now I'm going to try to have two straight legs. And I'm pretty much onto the fingertips on that brick or block. So it's just there for a little bit of reassurance to press down. Really only a couple of pounds. You're kind of lifting the body up and out And this just gives you a little bit of help. A big toe joint on your front foot, if you press that down, grounds the foot and gives stability to the ankle, the knee, the hip, the rest of your body. Back foot, it's kind of 50-50 between pressing into the heel and the ball joint of the foot as well. Drawing the belly in, pyramid pose. Again, try and keep the head in line with the body. Relax those shoulders away from the ears. If you're reaching too far forward, just move the block in a little for yourself. We'll take a breath there and allow ourselves to soften the front knee and bring ourselves back into that starting position. Take a breath, just soften the weight a little into the right foot as the left foot slides back. And your big toe starts to ask questions about where the ground is. It's time to roll the heel in. Trying to keep the chest, belly button, pubic bone over the center line of the mat and the hips square to the floor. So sometimes you see people's tailbones kind of washing out to one side or the other as they take the foot back, generally caused by crossing the foot over the center line. So if you had a 4-inch gap between your feet at the beginning, really the feet are still 4 inches apart, but the legs are obviously a length distance as well. We'll take a little breath from there, soften the front knee and bring ourselves back in. We're going to stay in this position, take a little breath, soften that left knee, slide the right foot back again. Drop the heel in. Now this time, we're going to see if we can bring the fingers along onto the ground, just onto the fingertips, in line with that front foot. And I'm going to turn so that my left foot is forward at the moment. I'm going to turn my body towards the left, draw my left elbow up, and then extend the hand out. So twisting gently in towards that front thigh. Still pressing the legs down. And bringing the hand back. As you may notice, it's almost impossible for me to talk and do the pose at the same time because it twists everything up. Come back into the front of the mat, take a breath, get a nice long spine, soften that right leg. Left leg goes back. Find a happy place. Feet are parallel. Bring the fingers to the floor. 2 straight legs. Take a little breath when you're ready. So to turn to your right, take the elbow up first and then let the hand follow. Try and draw the head forwards, feet down. Remember to breathe. Palm facing out to the side you're looking to, just in case your hand twisted around for some reason. And bring the hand back to the floor. Step ourselves in. So forward fold. So hopefully those hamstrings have warmed up a little bit. So move the bricks and the blocks off to the side, but keep them towards the front of the mat. Bring hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up soft knees. Take that into a little back bend again. Bring the palms together, look towards the hands. Press the feet down into the floor. Bring the hands through your heart. Hinge the hips. Ease their way down to the ground. Step it back into down dog. Going to take a little breath from there. And draw the right hand towards the chest. Bring that foot through so it lines up with our hands. Knee over ankle and pressing out through the back heel. Left hand planted. You can take that right hand up into the twist. Press out through the back heel. Really be conscious about your back heel pointing towards the sky. Trying to keep your hips square to the ground rather than dropping that left hip down. Last breath in. Bring the hands down to the floor. Step back into our down dog. And we'll do the same with the Left leg coming through, right hand to the ground, left arm lifts, and we twist. Focus on that back leg. We can't see it, so we're going to feel it, imagine it, ask it to go in the direction we want it to move. Hopefully it will oblige. We're just imprinting the feeling, the leg being out behind us, and the toes pointing down and the heels pointing up. Bring the hand back down, take a little breath. Allow ourselves to step back into our down dog. Again, we're going to scissor the right leg, travel forwards as far as we can, shoulders past the hands, ease back into the down dog, bring the foot to the floor, take it up on the left, keep the legs strong and long, push forwards, and back into your down dog. Now we draw that left knee all the way into the chest and foot to the front of the mat. Take a little breath, drop the back heel down, bring the hands alongside the body and come into our warrior two. So just taking the right hand forwards. That's right. Made myself amused there as I brushed my fingers on the wall. Just giving the groins a little bit of a chance to open up. So quite often when we start, this knee will kind of move in towards the big toe. You want to take it out towards the little toe area, and we want to keep these hips square to the ground. Sometimes you see people, I'll just exaggerate a little bit, but they lean into their warrior two. So this back hip is high. Drop that down a little bit. As you look through your middle finger, not only is it allowing you to see where you're going, but it also gives you a peripheral shot of where your front knee is. Now we'll bring the hands in towards our heart, down to the floor. We'll take a little breath from there, step back into down dog, draw the right knee in, bring the foot through, drop the heel down, come into our warrior two for the second side. A little more sense of pressing the feet down into the floor. And bring the hands in towards the heart and down to the ground. Stepping back into our down dog. Scissor the left leg and draw the knee in. Bring the foot through into lunge. Drop the back heel. Hands alongside the body. Warrior two to lift. So the palm on the front hand into reverse warrior. And we'll come back into warrior two. Hands in towards the heart. Down to the floor. Step it back into our down dog and scissor the right leg. Draw the knee in towards the chest and through. Drop the back heel in, hands alongside the body. Float that arm forwards and lift. Once you land in warrior two, turn the palm. Ease into that reverse warrior. Come back into warrior two. Hands into the heart, down to the floor. Step it back into down dog. Scissor the left leg, knee in towards the chest. Bring the foot through. Drop the back heel in, hands alongside. Take it back up into our warrior two. Into our reverse warrior. Come back into warrior two. Straightening the front leg. Now we can drop into that front hip. They might click a little bit. And allow yourself to extend out into your triangle pose. Now you can bring your hands down towards your shin or your ankle or the floor and take the top arm up towards the sky. Roll the chest round to that long side of the mat. Two straight legs, hopefully. Slowly bring ourselves back up. Warrior two, hands to heart. Hands to the floor. Stepping back into our down dog. Scissor the right leg. Knee into the chest and bring the foot through. Drop the heel in for warrior two. Allow yourself to lift. Take it into your reverse warrior. Come back into your warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Sink into that front hip a little. Lengthen, 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 lengthen. And then bring the hand down. So this is quite a low one. Trying to turn the chest along the side of the mat. See if you can have your head face the side of the mat rather than the floor. And press both feet down. Draw the belly in. Allow yourself to lift your body out of that hand that is supporting down on your foot or your floor. Okay, we'll take a little breath from there. Soften the front knee, come back into our warrior twos. Hands in towards the heart and down to the floor. Take a little breath. Step back into our down dog. Scissor the left leg, knee into the chest and bring the foot through. Drop the back heel in, hands alongside to lift warrior twos. Turn the palm on the front hand, guide into your reverse warrior. Come back into warrior two to straighten the front leg. Allow yourself to lengthen out as you drop into that hip. It's time to bring the hand down. We're going to see if we can take the top arm around the body and bring the fingers onto that front thigh. You're going to have to turn the body around a long way to get that to happen. Again, if you can keep the eyes focusing side edge of the mat, that would be great. Otherwise, down to the floor. Now soften the front knee and come up into our warrior two. We're going to take the hands high this time and rotate the body as we lift the back heel away from the ground into a high crescent. I'm going to let the arms come out wide in line with the shoulders. As I slowly tumble forwards over that front thigh, I'm going to bring the right hand to the floor into a twist. I'm going to take a nice breath. Lift up away from the fingertips. Slowly bring myself back up. Hands towards the sky and then down to the floor. Take a little breath and step back into my down dog. Scissoring the right leg. As I arrive, draw the knee in towards the chest. Bring the foot through. Drop the back heel in. Hands alongside the body. Lifting up, warrior two. Turn the palm, reverse your warrior. Come back into your warrior two. Straighten the front leg and drop into that hip and lengthen out slow and long. And down, as low as you dare. Top arm to the sky and then wrap it around. Allow yourself to make some space to get your fingers into that front thigh or as close as you can get. So you're turning the chest and shoulders round, long side of the mat. Soften the front knee. Come back into our warrior two. Again, we lift the hands high. Rotate the hips and shoulders with the back heel. Take a little breath as the arms go out wide. Let ourselves come forwards and carefully bring the hand down to the floor into the twist. Take a breath, draw the belly in, lift onto the fingertips. Start to float the arm out. Lift yourself gently. Take the hands high.
Lost the concentration for a moment. Hands to the floor. Take a little breath, and this time we're stepping into a forward bend. And whilst I'm here, I'm going to move those bricks again into the front or the block in front of the mat. Let yourself to bring your hands onto your hips. Lift up slowly. We'll take that into a little side bend, back bend. And bring the hands in towards your heart. Now, at this point, we're just going to close our eyes and wriggle our toes out a little bit. See if you can lift your little toe away from the floor. And at the same time, press your big toe down into the ground. And then gradually roll your little toe down into the floor. And see if you can lift your big toe away from the ground, keeping the ball joint attached. And see if we can do that again. Eyes closed. Try and get a little ripple. Lift into the little toes. My fingers are joining in. And exhale. Down. Flat to the floor. Get a little rise in the big toe. Oh, it takes a lot of thinking about. A lot of visualization, and then feet flat to the floor. And take a little breath here and let ourselves hinge down to the ground. And take a breath and step the right foot back and drop the heel in. Now I want to come into the position of my legs that were used for the triangle pose, and then allow myself to open up to the right. So I'm going to make sure I'm comfortable with where I am. I'm going to move my bricks or my blocks just onto the inside of this front foot, so I can lift a little higher. Take a breath. Now I'm going to start to bring my right hand down and swap over, and continue to turn the chest around to the left as I bring the shoulder and the elbow and the hand around to face the opposite side, keeping the legs pressing down. So turned into a revolved triangle pose. Now, I'm trying to keep my hips over the center line of the mat. So whilst I'm in this pose, I'm actually trying to draw my tailbone down an imaginary line of my mat and towards the back of the mat. And now I bring the hand down to the floor, or onto the blocks. Allow myself to move the block out of the way as I soften the knee, spin the back heel, come in to the forward bend, allow myself to hang. Bring the hands onto the hips again, and then snow all the way up, so right into that infamous back bend. Bring the hands in towards your heart, and exhale down. As you arrive, allow yourself to take your left foot back and drop the heel in. Come into your triangle legs, move your brick and block. Allow yourself to place your right hand. Slowly take your left hand up to the sky as you open up your body. Bring the hand carefully down to the floor, turning the chest in, but keeping the spine long. And head pointing towards the end of the mat. And then we'll rotate chest, elbow, and shoulders to that revolved version. If you're wondering at all, my legs are wobbling and shaking underneath me. Bring the hands down again to the floor. Let them move those bricks and blocks out of the way. Step into the forward bend again. And take a little breath. Line up my feet. Bring hands onto the hips. And let ourselves lift up. We'll take that into the back bend again. Inhaling high. Hands into the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Stepping back into a down dog. I'm going to take a little breath there. Allow ourselves to scissor. Right leg to the sky. Draw the knee in. Bring the foot through into lunge. And take a little breath from there. Allow yourself to take both hands forwards a little bit, but keep your knee over your ankle so you haven't actually traveled forwards. You've just reached out as far as you can on your fingertips. I'm going to press into this back foot and lift it away from the ground. Take a little breath from there. Now I'm going to line that brick and block up so it's underneath my chest, underneath my sort of throat area. So it's in line with my shoulders, center line of the mat. I'm going to lift the left hand onto the brick or the block. I'm doing my best to have the raised foot, toes pointing down to the floor and the heel towards the sky. I'm trying to keep the hips square to the ground and press out through the heel and the standing leg. Having done all that, I'm going to slowly start to turn my chest towards the right. Allow the elbow to draw up as well with it. I'm going to feel the tightness through the groin and allow that right hand to slowly turn out up towards the sky. Now, if you're able to, you're going to slowly take your eyes along the floor out to the side. See if you can gaze to the wall or whatever it is to the side of your mat. Don't worry if you wobble, I am as well. Bring the hands back down to the floor. Take a little breath, soften the front knee, bring ourselves back into the lunge, and then step back into our down dog. And we'll take the left leg high, scissor, draw the knee in and bring that foot through. So that would have felt big and strong on the hips when you've done that. So we'll take a couple of breaths here, just on the fingertips. Make sure we're happy with our feet position underneath us, and then allow the hands to walk forwards. Again, that distance that's unique to each of our bodies. We'll push off the toes and let ourselves lift. This time we'll bring the right hand onto the brick or the block. Just starting to find our balance, maybe taking the left hand away from the ground. You're going to start to turn your chest to the left. Draw the elbow up. Gradually and slowly take the hand up towards the sky. Once you feel safe, feet are planted, see if you can take your eyes very gently over to the side edge of the mat. Just to test your balance a bit more. Use the hand down to the ground. Turn the chest in, fingers to the floor. Soften the front knee. Step it back into the lunge. Take a little breath. And step into a forward fold. Again, we'll move the bricks and the blocks out to the side. Now I'm going to take my right foot back into a lunge and turn my body to the long side of the mat. So whatever easiest for you to do and still see a screen. Maybe it doesn't really matter where you've got the screen in front of you, but if it's off to the side a little bit, work with what's easier for you. So we're on the fingertips with a long spine, and the legs are nice and wide apart. We'll just turn the heels in once and let ourselves sink the bottom down a little bit. Now we're going to try to bring our bottom to be level with the height of the knee. So you might need to wriggle the feet in a little bit more just to feel like your heels are underneath your knees. And then we'll bring the hands onto the thighs and lift the body, but see if we can keep the bottom fairly low. Now, again, there's still quite a big stretch in the groins, and the hips have done quite a bit of work already. So we'll start with the hands and just placed on the top of the thighs here and let ourselves rock out, touch. Now I'm going to see if we can lift the body up a little so the shoulders are not so close to the ears. There's less weight in the hands. Now if you want to take your hands away from the thighs, turn the palms up and just bring your index finger and thumb together. Allow yourself to open your chest, draw the belly in and send your tailbone down to the floor. So there's less of a curve in the spine, it's longer and flatter. Now bring the hands onto the thighs and see if you can get the legs to cooperate and lift you back up again. We'll bring the feet slowly back in, hands in towards the heart. Allow ourselves to hinge down to the floor. Now, as your hands come to the ground, see if you can take your right hand first and place that palm underneath the sole of the foot with your big toes close to your wrist joint as possible. And then the same on the other foot. Now you do want to have your feet at least hip distance apart because it is a strong pose for the legs, but also challenges your balance. Now try to press the big toe joint down firmly into the fingers. Allow the head to relax. And as you press your big toe down, see if you can lift your tailbone to the sky. Let the legs open out. And we'll gently release the hands, one at a time, keep it safe. Allow ourselves to walk the fingers around to the front end of the mat. Just have a little wiggle for the feet, hands flat to the floor, back into down dog. Come forwards into a plank. Push forwards over the tippy toes. And bring those elbows into the ribs. Laces down, strong legs. Allow ourselves to roll the shoulders back into our up dog. Slowly lift the hips up. Roll over the toes or step the feet in, whatever feels good. We'll take the right knee towards the chest. Take it to the outside of your right hand. Take a little breath. Take the right hand to the sky. Press out through that back heel again. Roll the chest open. Hand down to the floor. We'll step it back into our dog. Draw the left knee in. As you exhale, plant the foot outside. Bring the hip bones, groins over the center line of the mat. Take the next twist. Bring hands down to the floor. Step it back to down dog. Come forward into plank and we'll let the knees come to the ground about hip distance apart. And we'll sink into child's pose. Using the hands underneath the head. You could use a block and then take the hands towards your feet. It would be a little easier on the shoulders. Personal choice, really. The idea of having the knees together is, at this point, breathing should be robust, strong breath. Diaphragm expanding and contracting with that breath. So as we lay over our thighs, the diaphragm is massaging the spine a little bit for us. Make an effort to see if you can carry on with a long, slow breath. The body will be trying to find space to breathe into. It only does that if you have time. We'll take a last breath in. And use the exhale to press into the hands and lift ourselves away from the ground. Now I'm going to slide gently onto my bottom, take my legs out in front, and definitely going to use the block this time underneath. Just take a little step up. I'm going to bring the feet together, and I'm going to try and lengthen out through the legs without pressing down into the knees. I'm going to press the sitting bones into the floor and have the body as upright as I can into Dandasana. I'm going to try and get the big toe and the little toe to be the same distance from me, which generally requires you to roll the thighs in a little bit. And then once I've done that, I'm going to see if I can spread the toes out as wide as I can and see if I can get a little separation between each of the toes. And try and feel these thighs lengthening away. Now, the issue of bringing the feet and flexing them towards you and having your toes extended out and spread is that these guys fire up and contract. So in your mind, I want you to tell them to lengthen away and see if you can let the sort of hip flexors relax out as well. That does happen, but it does take a bit of concentration. Release from there. Going to take that left leg under and just hook it out to the right side of the mat. So hips and knee are pointing towards the front of the mat. I'm going to take the right leg over, walk that in a little bit, tilt the pelvis forwards. Now the left hand is just going to slide across the chest through towards the right side of the mat, and then I'll turn the whole body in that direction, trying to keep both sitting bones on the ground. And do my best to let that bottom leg relax. As I'm letting the bottom leg relax, I'm going to see if I can press the sole of the foot of this leg with the high knee down to the floor. Now it's easy to press two legs. It's easy to not press two legs. Pressing one in each direction, that's different. Especially when it's a press and a release. Again, pressing in two different directions is achievable, but you have to think about it. This is different, a press and a release. And we can take it over to the other side. and we can release from there as well. Allow the legs to lengthen out. So I'm going to allow myself to just draw the hands behind, knees high, roll the spine gently down to the floor. A nice long back, so wriggle the shoulders underneath, wriggle the hips away. Draw the knees in towards the chest and take the hands on top of the knees to start with. Keeping the toes together, touching. You're going to let the knees widen out to the side. We'll draw the chin in towards the chest so we can see where we're going. We'll take the hands onto the inside of the thighs, slide the fingers down the shins and over the top of the feet. So hook the hands around the little toe. We'll slowly extend one sole of the foot towards the sky so we've got a more or less 90-degree bend in the legs. You're going to try and draw the tailbone down to the floor. So use your abdominal muscles and your back muscles to press it down. And then see if you can roll your spine down to the floor and let your head come back down to the ground. Trying to keep the body as long as possible. Some people, this is incredibly easy because they've got nice open hips. Average person with really tight hamstrings and hip flexors will find this a challenge. Anyone that's tight in those areas is going to find it even more so. Allow yourself to relax your shoulders, trust the grip around the feet, and be happy with wherever your knees are pointing or however close they are to the ground. It doesn't really matter what the shape looks like. Trying to get the spine to be long and let the tailbone down. So that's the focus really. Okay, we'll slowly release the feet to the floor. Allow them to come in close to your bottom. Bring them down gently and slowly. Allow yourself to take your arms out wide, in line with your chest, palms facing up. Shimmy the hips a little over to the left. The legs come down to the right. The shoulders are flat to the ground, allowing the head to turn to the left. Release the knees back into the center. And then just take the hips over to the opposite side. Let those legs go down towards the left this time. Allow them to relax. Pull the knees again high, feet on the floor, realign the spine. Add a little more weight this time. We're going to take the left leg up and cross that over and just cross the thighs over and letting the foot come down. If you're able to hook your left foot around the back of your calf of your right leg, great, but if not, be happy for it just to have the thighs close together. We're going to take the hips out towards the left again. Let the legs roll down towards the right. And feel a little bit heavier, a little bit stronger in the spine. Legs might go down a little lower. And we're trying to relax the muscles, let the shoulders sink onto the floor. Draw the belly in. Exhale the legs back. Realign the spine and untangle the legs. And then just take it over to the other side. Right leg lifts, crosses over. Get a nice lock in there. Take the hips over towards the right. The legs just swoop down as we exhale. A little creaking and cracking and popping in the spine as the facets are all around. Bring ourselves back into the center. Pull both knees in as we untangle. Little hug to the floor. Slide the heels out gently to the corner edges. The legs roll out. Hands down by the side of your body with the palms up. Eyes closed. Sink into the mat. Begin to gently stretch those fingers and toes. Breathe a little deeper into the wrists and ankles and allow yourself to stretch out in any way that feels good. And then carefully slide the heels along the floor to bring the feet back in towards your body. Disturb the nervous system as little as possible. Let me at a time come into you, towards you for a very simple light hug. Disturb the knees a little and rock on the spine if that feels good. And gently going to roll onto that left side. And our body stay in the parasympathetic nervous system for as long as possible. You need to gently turn your chest towards the ground and then bring the hands underneath as you exhale and press away from the floor to very smoothly bring yourself back up into a seated posture. Allow yourself to sit in any position that feels really comfortable. And then bring your hands in towards your heart. Take a breath in, allow the eyes to close. As you begin to exhale, let the chin drop. Allow the belly to draw to the spine and a simple bow form to seal your practice. And inhale, allow the spine to lift until your head follows and the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me on a Friday night on the mat. Hope to see you again soon.